And good afternoon, Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights, VELCO Weather Hazards Forecaster. This weather outlook, we're looking at the whole country here at large. We can see a primarily one major storm system, and this is the one here with this shortwave trough in the upper levels of the atmosphere, spinning up an area of low pressure that's going to take a track right over the state of Vermont. On the backside of this system, we'll probably have a little bit of some wraparound snow and snow shower activity. This is going to be after a little bit of a mix begins to work on in. Please see the latest heads up for the latest information on this incoming storm system from Wednesday late afternoon into Wednesday night and Thursday. Temperature-wise, we can see that we have some milder air that's going to be pushing on in here, and that's going to set the stage for temperatures, it looks like, during the afternoon hours on Thursday, probably exceeding 35 degrees, and that's going to unload any kind of wet snow that will have accumulated on trees. That might even happen as early as a little bit, maybe a couple of hours after daybreak during the day on Thursday. But it does look like we're under the gun for some medium wet snowfall. Let's get right to it with the models. European on the left, we have the GFS deterministic on the right. Very good matches here. And so area of higher pressure is scooting on out and opening the door for this incoming snow. It starts out light and sporadically, but then picks up. You can see the slightly darker shades here. That continues. This is valid about 7 o'clock in the evening. And it's really after about 6, 7 o'clock that things really go to town. Also, we have a little bit of gradient wind issue right along the southern and central greens for the most part. But we're looking at 40, maxing out around 50 mile per hour at summit. This is going to be also in conjunction with precipitation falling, so it will probably lessen the effects of the overall gradient winds out of the southeast interacting with the Green Mountain summits. And a little bit of that blowing downslope onto the valley floors, but it looks like for the most part, I think that's we're probably going to dodge a bullet there. Now, we do get into some mixed precipitation, of course. This will be changing over to spotty sleet, freezing rain, but for the most part, we do dry slot with that precipitation. It takes a track and continues out. Wrap around will be lingering with some snow showers and flurries, but minor accumulations to be expected going into Thursday evening, and maybe even lingering into Friday morning. However, high pressure is going to build in. This is going to ridge in, and that's going to afford us a pretty decent day overall on Friday. A nice break in between two weather systems. This is our next customer. It's going to drag a frontal system through us and trigger off some snow showers and flurries. It doesn't look to be too bad. This will take place on Saturday. That's going to have a kind of an old frontal boundary that's going to linger here for the next weather system that's going to push in along about Sunday. And note here, it's mainly going to be snow. There's going to be some sort of a frontal boundary right here. So to the south of that, we might see just a little bit of rain as this next weather system on Sunday begins to push through and then push on out of the region. It could be good for anywhere from 1 to locally 4 inches of snow as it looks right now based on the latest European model. A weaker area of higher pressure is going to try to build in 1031 and then finally 1032 across Quebec. That's going to afford a pretty good day on Monday. And that'll be the last day of the period for the outlook. But another short wave is going to be working on in this out of the upper plains and catching a little bit of Great Lakes moisture and so on and so forth. And you can see that the weather gets very active. And this is a warm intrusion. We might even see temperatures make a run into the 40s during this day on Wednesday beyond the period. So something to watch. Now, there's going to be this sort of elongated frontal boundary. This is well beyond the period for next week. And it's going to be one of these stringy kind of frontal boundaries that eventually moves on out, replaced by a cold Arctic batch of higher pressure that could really lower the temperatures, get into a little bit of Arctic chill at some point. Thought I'd run this very quickly here. This is, of course, below normal temperatures. They have the European ensemble and the GFS ensemble on the right-hand side. They'll match up pretty well. A little bit above normal temperatures working on in. That's the business that comes in overnight with that warm intrusion, mixed precipitation types. And then we cool it down just a little bit. And you can see the cooler air kind of wrapping in across the country. This is valid about 2 o'clock on Friday. Looks like we warm things up as we get in towards Saturday. And then the more impressive cool down starting in from parts of Canada and then working our way south and eastbound. There will be this sort of elongated frontal boundary kind of stringing along. You can see below normal anomalies next to warmer than normal anomalies. There's going to be pretty good action right along this frontal boundary. That's going to be affecting probably northern New England as well as it sets up. But eventually, this is going to overtake the warmth, but not yet. We're into the day on Wednesday, the 1st of February. And then finally, 2nd, 3rd of February, we're seeing that cool down with honest-to-God below temperature anomalies. Haven't seen much of this so far, and this looks like a pretty good Arctic chill setup here. This is roughly about the 4th, 5th, 6th of February, and then the warmer air gets starting to move back in, but you can see kind of the dynamic here ahead. Once again, the GFS ensemble this time centered on the grid points of Montpelier, Vermont, halfway point approximately for Vermont. One main precipitation maker, that is the stuff incoming for this afternoon, evening, and into Thursday morning. A little bit of a dip, and then we can see a small minor uptick as the wraparound moves into the region. This is going to be primarily snow, of course, on the front side, and looking at precipitation types, primarily snow. Then we get into some mixed precipitation, some freezing rain, sleet, maybe even a little bit of rain as temperatures make a rise. And then we go back to a little bit of snow. And that is the program for this entire storm system. Looking at the total QPF, we're looking at around 6-7 tenths of total melted precipitation. The deterministic model of the GFS is just a little bit higher, closer to 8 tenths. And you can see the next uptick with the next weather system, and so on and so forth. Weather Prediction Center, 7-day total QPF going beyond this outlook period. And we're looking at somewhere around 1.5, about an inch or so. This is 5/10 of an inch, or halfway point, half an inch, I should say, and then 0.25 of an inch. And drier up in 2 parts of Canada where the Arctic air will be residing. Checking temperature. Looking at the temperature anomalies, that is current sea surface temperature anomaly, so we're going to change that up here. And what you can see, we're still above normal here. Colder up to the north and parts of Canada, and a little bit of a warm up here, kind of a hodgepodge. But what does it all mean? Well, we're still in the warmer than normal category by 3 to 6 degrees. And again, this is for the next 5 days of meteorological output statistics or high temperatures. Notice how cold it is up here in the Northern Plains, Northern Rockies. 3 days later, you start to make some inroads, but it's a hard chore as it looks. And again, we'll be setting up this frontal boundary, which will have waves of low pressure rolling along it, and kind of a strong area of heavy precipitation likely through this region and into northern New England. This is after the outlook period. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.